30 teams, 30 minutes. We're going to go ahead and do the Toronto Raptors. Definitely, if you like it, subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, leave a comment at the bottom, and I'll answer all the questions that you have. 30 teams, 30 minutes. We're going to do this throughout the season. If I'm solo, 15 minutes. If I got one of the members of the squad with me, Game is a Game squad with me, we'll definitely do a 30-minute one. Check out the podcast. We'll be doing the podcast twice a week this season. So let's go ahead and get started. Toronto Raptors, I think Tampa Bay Raptors are going to be playing in Tampa Bay because Canada is not allowing NBA teams or Americans in general to come into their pristine country. But no, they've done a great job handling the COVID crisis, and we haven't in this country, regardless of what you think about it. So they're smart to say, hey, we're just not going to allow that to happen. So because of that, the Raptors have to play in Tampa Bay, I believe. So this is going to be an interesting season for them. It's probably going to be a hard season for them. Hopefully, we can get COVID under control before the end of the season, so they can go home and live their lives. But during the season, they're going to be out of their homes. I don't know what their situations are going to be with their family, so I wouldn't suspect all these troubles, especially with given how long they had to play in the bubble, that they start off slow and they might stumble this season. So that's definitely something to look out for. The team, in my personal opinion, starts and finishes with Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse, in my opinion, is pound for pound the best coach in this league, and pound for pound probably one of the scheme for scheme. That's probably better. Scheme for scheme, probably one of the greatest coaches of all time. And I know that to some people sounds like hyperbole, but his versatility, his ability, his willingness to change things on the fly it's outstanding. I have not seen the coach with his versatility. I'll give you an example. I bet against the Raptors on MLK Day last year. They played the Hawks. It was last year or 2 years ago. And I don't know why I was betting on the Hawks, but it must have been an in-game bet or something. The Hawks were up big. And in the middle of the game, Nick Nurse decides, hey, you know what? We're going to play a full court press like this is college. A fucking full court press. And it worked. They got turnover after turnover, got themselves back into the game. They won the game. And I left the game just amazed. Like, I've had bad beats before and losses before, but I was just like, wow, I've never seen a coach do that. Then you go to the bubble this year. They go boxing one on the Celtics. Celtics are lost. I don't know what to do with it. You watch that series, they were outgunned. They were the defending champs, so people say, oh, well, they're the defending champ, but they were outgunned. The Celtics have by far a superior team, but he just kicked Brad Stevens' ass. And he did, with that boxing one, with the zone concepts that he was doing, the fact that he was one of the first coaches to understand the bubble that, hey, I can push my guys a little bit more because they're going to get rest in the game because these in-game timeouts and these challenges. And then also because we're not traveling, they're getting more rest off the court, so I can push them a little bit harder on the court. He just seems like he picks up things quicker. He's not one of those coaches I talked about in the Denver thing about Mike Malone and his struggle playing young guys. He does not have those similar qualms. He'll play everybody and give everyone a chance and does a good job of putting people in the best situations for them to succeed. So I'm just high on him. I think by far he's the best coach in the NBA. So with that, they have an opportunity and they have a chance. I think another part of them having a chance, shout out to the Niger boy OG, is OG. I think OG has a chance to take a leap this season. I think with the loss of Gasol and Ibaka, they're going to have an opportunity for him to get more touches and more feel. I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off a trade. There's been talks of them being in the Harden trade discussions, which actually makes some sense to me. And we'll talk about Siakam in a little bit. But you have a situation where I think OG is going to have more touches, and he's shown the ability to not be afraid of the moment with that shot that he made to win Game 3 when they were down 0-2. He's shown the ability to attack mismatches, and he's shown the work ethic to get better as a player. So I would not be surprised if he takes a mini league year. You have a GM that is willing to make trades, and Masai, and I think that they're going to be very active on the market. and trying to make trades. Is a very deep team, especially on the perimeter. So a Harden trade would give them what they don't have currently is a superstar. And, that leads us into the discussion of Pascal Siakam. He had that breakout game versus the Warriors. I believe it was game 2. Or it's game 1. Game 1 or game 2? Game 1. Yeah, that breakout game versus the Warriors, game 1, after he kind of no-showed the Sixers series. And people thought that hopefully that this portends something good for his future, and it did. He came out the season gangbusters, looked like he picked up the slack that Kawhi had left in his absence and really became an all-star, superstar type player. And then he got into the bubble, and specifically versus the Celtics, he just looked lost. I think as a superstar means that you have answers for everything that the team throws at you. There's not a defense that completely takes you out your game, and it just seemed like a defense or a defender that can complete you out completely take you out the game, and it seemed like Jaylen Brown did that to him. If you watch the games, so that he really didn't understand how to attack Jaylen Brown. He tried to post up Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, two of the stronger perimeter defenders in the NBA. So he got nowhere with that and threw up his flip shot, which works for him. But it wasn't working in this series. He wasn't hitting the jumper. He wasn't getting anywhere attacking off the bounce, both of these guys with lateral quickness. So he struggled. In that situation, I thought probably the best style for him to attack was to try to attack in the mid-post, face up. He's taller and longer than both of those players, face up and, hit them with the mid-range jumper. A couple of times after that, you can draw them in. You can pump and go, beat them off the dribble with the first step, and then spray the ball to other players. And that would have provided some offense, much needed offense for Toronto, which they didn't have in that series, and he didn't do it. He has talked openly about how the bubble affected him and, mentally, and, that affected his game, that impacted his game in a negative fashion as well. So hopefully that's true. And, he plays better this season. But, if you're a Raptors fan, the way that he performed there is a cause for concern. You look at the rest of their team, Kyle Lowry, Yeoman series in that series, Yeoman. Surprised me. I've never seen this guy that played well in the closeout game. Versus the Warriors. And I think if you really look back at that Warriors-Toronto series, he was probably the MVP of that series, especially the last couple games. It looks like Kawhi, my personal opinion, started to slow down. I don't know if that was an injury or it did seem that the Warriors were kind of confusing him with their defensive rotations, and he stepped up in that stead, and he played even better versus the Celtics on offense and on defense. So, shout out to him. He's in a contract year. I have rumored on other podcasts, I think that he would be a great player for a team like the Clippers, but it looks like the Clippers want to run triangle or whatever the hell that is. So we'll see if he stays, but if he stays, he's a great player. And then you have Van Vliet that got paid. Shout out to Fred Van Vliet. I think it was the biggest contract ever for an undrafted player. So shout out to Fred Van Vliet. I think that he is a great player, great on-ball defender, probably pound for pound the best on-ball defender at the point guard position that we have in the league. So, that's a rock-solid backcourt there. You have Norman Powell, who just caught fire, lightning in a bottle towards the end of the regular season, was looking like a semi-all-star off the bench. Looked like if he played that way throughout the year, he would have been the definite sixth man of the year. So we'll see. He didn't play that. He wasn't that hot in the bubble, but that might just be bubble. So we'll see which one he truly is. But if he's that one, then this team is higher. Their upside is a lot higher than a lot of people are projecting currently for them. They replaced their big man with Alex Len. They brought in the Aaron Baines of the Celtics acclaim. Who's an interesting player. He's a better shooter, I think, than Gasol is. I think they're going to mix Baca shooting. He was a clutch player for them versus the Celtics last year. So I think we're going to see how Alex Len and Baines fill those roles. But another player that I'm really interested in and interested to see is this Chris Boucher. He's an older player, 27 years old, but I think he's still fairly young to basketball. And there were a couple times when I saw him. I think they played the Lakers last year in the regular season, before the season, not in the bubble, before the season went out. He had a great game. I was like, who is this kid? Yeah. So I'll be interested to see what he does with more on his plate. Maybe he can step up and become a better player. He was willing to shoot the three back then. He's very athletic. He's slight of frame, but very athletic. He had a couple blocks. So we'll see what that portends to. You just look at the team, the rest of the team: Matt Thomas, DeAndre Bembry, Stanley Johnson. These are all interesting players. Stanley Johnson, high NBA pedigree, really hasn't learned how to shoot yet, but the game was there. I remember when he had that his rookie season, and they played the Cavs in the playoffs, and he was trash talking LeBron, which was crazy, but he played fairly well that season, and I was expecting more things from him, but he's never honed his NBA jump shot. And so we'll see. He's still a fairly young player. Like, how old is he? He's 24. So there's going to be multiple opportunities for the players on this team. I think that they, while maybe not scoring, have lost a lot. If you add another year on Kyle Lowry and the way that Siakam played towards the end of the season, there might be more opportunities for a lot of players. So we'll see. And Matt Thomas, he played a lot in the bubble. In the playoffs, he's a good shooter. You can never have any much shooting, and we'll see if they do make a trade. There might be upside for him and potentially get more minutes and to play. So most impactful player for the Toronto Raptors, I'm definitely going to have to go with Siakam. Because he might be the pathway for them to get James Harden. If they get James Harden, then you're really cooking with gas, because you can get James Harden, and then this sounds like blasphemy, but it might be the best decision to trade Kyle Lowry for another piece. Maybe Kyle Lowry, this is my Blake Griffin white whale, then he makes a lot of sense. You trade Kyle, you make the salaries to match up. So you have Van Vliet, you have OG, Harden, Blake Griffin. That's interesting. Norm Powell off the bench. Then you got a team that you can look at like, okay, we might do something over here. So, and I think that he was ready to strip it down to the studs. I'm talking myself into this trade because he was willing to rip it down to the studs before Masai. And then they caught lightning in the bottle, and then he just stumbled upon James Harden. So maybe it makes sense. You try to stumble upon, stumble upon Kawhi Leonard. Maybe it might make sense to stumble upon James Harden and be one of those teams that doesn't care if he resigns or not. Because James, the rumor is he likes to get after it. The rumor is that Toronto's one of the best nightlife cities in the world. That's interesting. Man. I don't know. Well, that might make some sense. So, yeah, he's the most impactful player for them. Most intriguing player is this Chris Boucher player. If he is, like I said, when I watched him versus the Lakers, he was making plays all over the place. Is he someone that, with a more defined role and a lot more minutes, is he someone that's going to pop? So I would say those are the most intriguing and most impactful players for the team. As far as the postseason chances, there's a wide spectrum for this team. They're playing in Tampa, away from their families, short bubble return. So I could see them falling to the 6th seed, or I could see a Harden trade and them being an absolute terror out east. A Harden and Blake Griffin trade and they're absolute terror out east. So Um, that is the Toronto Raptors. 30 teams, 30 minutes. I'm going to be hitting every team. If you disagree with anything I said, leave a comment. I will explain to you why I'm right as always and you are wrong. Definitely subscribe. Looking to grow the channel. I'm going to give you guys content every week on every NBA team. Look out for that. And I'll get you guys soon. 30 teams, 30 minutes. Get at us.